Welcome to the 700 Club. It doesn't look like there's any end in sight to the investigation into Russia and last year's election. The special counsel is building up his team, and the president has gotten together a legal group for his defense. Republicans are worried that the investigation could have another casualty. They're concerned it could hurt their ability to pass their agenda in Congress. Jenna Browder brings us the story from Washington.
Did President Trump try to block the investigation into Russia's interference in the election? That's one of the questions the Senate Intelligence Committee is trying to answer.
No collusion, no obstruction.
Trump is doubling down, telling reporters he did not pressure former FBI Director James Comey in his investigation into Michael Flynn, something Comey disputed on the stand.
I mean, this is the President of the United States, with me alone, saying, I hope this. I took it as this is what he wants me to do. Now, I didn't obey that, but that's the way I took it.
Democrats and Republicans have called on the president to release any tapes, if they exist, of conversations between Trump and Comey. Jay Sekulow of the American Center for Law and Justice is a member of Trump's legal team.
The president said he's going to address the issue of the tapes, whether the tapes exist or not, next week. That's a decision that the president will make in consultation with his chief lawyer, Mark Kasowitz, and the president said he'll address it next week.
Over the weekend, Trump blasted Comey on Twitter. I believe the James Comey leaks will be far more prevalent than anyone ever thought possible. Totally illegal, very cowardly. Some Republican senators, like Lindsey Graham, say the president should lay off the tweets.
You're your own worst enemy here, Mr. President. Knock it off.
Senator Mike Lee says he hasn't seen any evidence whatsoever the Trump campaign worked with Russia during the election. Many of these Republicans worry about the ticking legislative clock and how it's slowing down the party's agenda. Trump sees it too and is trying to shift the focus.
We want to get back to running our great country.
But the investigation is here to stay, and it's only ramping up. Sources say special counsel Robert Mueller is putting together a top-notch legal team to dig in deeper, and more hearings are coming on Capitol Hill. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who recused himself from the investigation after acknowledging he met with the Russian ambassador to the U.S., will testify Tuesday. Lawmakers also hope to hear from President Obama's Attorney General, who Comey accused of trying to help Hillary Clinton in the probe into her emails.
I want to hear from Loretta Lynch. Did you say, please call it a matter, not an investigation?
Despite the distractions from the Russia controversy, the Senate does have a bright spot. It looks like there could finally be some movement on health care reform. The Hill reports a path is emerging for Senate Republicans to pass their bill to repeal and replace Obamacare, as some moderates may compromise on Medicaid funding, removing one of the biggest obstacles for the bill. But it's going to take time, and this looming Russia investigation isn't helping. The question is, how much will it continue to slow down the entire conservative agenda? In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
I think we need to get used to this investigation and get used to it dominating the headlines. It's tough to pass an agenda. It's tough to move on an agenda when everyone in the administration is lawyering up and trying to figure out where is the special counsel going and what is my testimony, what are my requirements. Last week was supposed to be Infrastructure Week. That's what Trump announced, and we didn't hear much about infrastructure. It was all about this investigation, and it was all about Russia. So can it get back on track? The answer is yes, but you need to have it die down in the headlines. And I, for one, would encourage the president not to tweet about this anymore. Well, in other news, more people are speaking out against Senator Bernie Sanders for his questions to a Christian nominee in the Trump administration. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Gordon. This all centers on a confirmation hearing last week in which Senator Bernie Sanders was questioning Russell Vought, who's been nominated to be the White House Deputy Director for the Office of Management and Budget. Vought had written a piece for The Resurgent, a conservative blog about a controversy involving Islam at his Christian alma mater, Wheaton College.
Muslims do not simply have a deficient theology. They do not know God because they have rejected Jesus Christ, his son, and they stand condemned. End of quote. Do you believe Do you believe that that statement is Islamophobic?
Absolutely not, Senator. I'm a Christian, and I believe in a Christian set of principles based on my faith. That post, as I stated in the questionnaire to this committee, was to defend my alma mater, Wheaton College, a Christian school that has a statement of faith that includes the centrality of Jesus Christ for salvation. As a Christian, I believe that all individuals are made in the image of God and are worthy of dignity and respect, regardless of their religious beliefs.
This nominee is really not someone who is what this country is supposed to be about. I will vote no.
Oklahoma Republican Senator James Lankford warned that Sanders came dangerously close to crossing a constitutional line, saying Article 6 of the Constitution clearly states no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. He continued saying we cannot say we have the free exercise of religion and also require people to practice their faith only in a way that government officials prefer. Evangelist Franklin Graham also weighed in on Facebook asking, is Bernie Sanders right? No. Is he wrong? Yes. Is Russell Vogt politically correct? No. Is he right? Yes. Well, pro-family advocates are blasting a Canadian bill passed in the Ontario legislature that they say means LGBT rights will overrule the rights of Christian parents. They believe the bill gives the state more power to take children from families that disagree with the gay agenda. LifeSite News reports government agencies will be permitted to prevent couples who disagree with that agenda from adopting or fostering children. One pro-life activist warns police will now be able to bust down family doors and if their children aren't allowed to be gay or transgender. And he says Canada has entered an era of totalitarian power such as it has never seen. You can find out other ways the bill affects Christian parents and our story on cbnnews.com. Well, thousands packed a football stadium Sunday for what's come to be known as the Super Bowl Sunday of Christianity, and many more filled churches to watch from a distance. Chart-topping recording artists performed at the event, but in the end, the main star was Jesus. Ephraim Graham brings us the story from the Arizona desert at the annual Harvest America Crusade, hosted by Pastor Greg Laurie.
It's 100 degrees here in Phoenix. Phil Wickham, Need to Breathe, and Mercy Me are also singing at this year's Harvest America Crusade. Nearly 8 million people have attended Harvest events online or in person, and nearly 500,000 have made professions of faith. Those numbers climb even higher this year with the event here at the home of the Cardinals, University of Phoenix Stadium.
Let's welcome Mel Gibson to the Harvest Crusade.
Actor and director Mel Gibson made a surprise appearance last year. And this year's crusade isn't short on surprises.
And I saw God transform him from a man that I hated into the man I wanted to become.
Mercy Me shares a bit of the feature film based on their mega hit, I Can Only Imagine. Not due in theaters until spring of 2018.
I'm Greg Laurie, and I am a huge Steve McQueen fan. He's a Hollywood icon.
Pastor Greg Laurie gives audience a sneak peek at his film, the untold story of acting legend Steve McQueen's journey to faith, scheduled to hit theaters in the fall.
It's never too late to come home. Yes. Never, ever, 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 ever. He loves you. He loves
and
you.
American Idol's Jordan Sparks reveals an emotional faith journey of her own, following her big win in 2007.
You know, she won American Idol at 17. She became a huge success, has had a very great, fantastic career, but drifted from her faith. You know, she was raised in the church and loved the Lord as a young girl. She drifted, and she came back to Christ about a year ago.
So for me, I was sort of wondering, what is the meaning of my life?
Jordan's testimony sets the stage for Pastor Laurie's sermon tonight.
Sin promises freedom, but it brings slavery.
The biblical story of the prodigal son, whose father gracefully receives him when he humbly returned after wasting his inheritance in a life on the run from doing what was right. June 12th, the Monday following, how do you measure impact or change when the conference or the crusade is done?
Well, for us, our profit margin is people coming to Christ. I want to help people get ready for heaven. When it's all said and done, everyone's basically the same. Everyone's empty. Everyone's lonely. Everyone is afraid to die. Everybody has the same basic human need. And Christ died for our sins on the cross. And we can all be forgiven.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News, Phoenix, Arizona.